My opponent, a liberal Democrat named Colin Allred, is outraising Beto O'Rourke, my last opponent, 3-1. They are flooding millions of dollars into Texas. And the reason is simple. You remember my last reelect? It was a 3-point race. I won by 2.6%. And so Chuck Schumer, his view is he floods millions into Texas. He gains 3 points, and that's how they win.
Or, Ted, Colin Allred is fundraising at that rate because so many more people don't like you and your tired brand of fake politics in the form of pre-written one-liners and pathetic fealty to Donald Trump. When you've got that versus someone that looks to represent constituents instead of former president's lies, you'll find yourself in some trouble.
I think fundamentally, freedom is under attack in Texas right now. And it's not who we are, whether it's your freedom to make your own healthcare decisions, including access to an abortion, or attacking, banning books, or telling kids what kind of hairstyle they can have in school. I mean, to me, I see folks like Ted Cruz and the extremism they represent. That's not the Texas that I know. I'm a fourth-generation Texan. I was born and raised in Dallas by a single mom. I played football at Baylor, played in the NFL, represented us in Congress for the last 6 years. I know who we are, and this isn't it. And I think that's what we're seeing reflected in the polls now, is that folks want to have a way to express that and to get rid of a senator who honestly only cares about himself.
Cruz's strategy of complaining about his opponent's fundraising at a higher rate than him sounds more like a plan of begging for cash when you're unwilling to do any work for it.
My opponent will raise almost $100 million, Ainsley, in the state of South Carolina. I'm getting outraised 3-1, outspent 4-1. If you want to help me fight back, go to lindseygraham.com. $5 or $10. He raised $6 million from the time Justice Ginsburg passed away within 72 hours. Get into the game. They're killing us financially. I'm in South Carolina, not exactly a liberal state. My opponent's going to raise $80 million. I need conservatives to help me. You need to help us all. But I'm being killed financially. This money is because they hate my guts. I'm getting overwhelmed. Yeah, LindseyGraham.com. Help me. They're killing me money-wise. Help me. You did last week. Help me again. Help me. Help me. Help us all. Help me. Help me. Help me again.
Help me. Help me again. These kinds of Republicans are so used to simply saying, he's a Democrat, as a campaign issue, they forget that they have to listen to and advocate for freedoms that they claim to believe in. It's lazy politics, but voters are actually beginning to pay attention to what they say and how little they care about the things they do that change our lives.
I really feel for what's happening in Florida as much as I'm excited about them having this on the ballot. What they're going to experience is what we've been experiencing in Texas, which is what a near total ban on abortion looks like. And what it looks like is 26,000 women in Texas who've given birth to their rapist child. What it looks like is a mother of two like Kate Cox or Dr. Austin Denard, who was my guest at the State of the Union, who wanted to have a much wanted third pregnancy, who got the news that we all hope we don't get, that the pregnancy wasn't viable. And in Kate Cox's case, she had to go to the emergency room 4 times. Her doctor said she needed a medically necessary abortion, and her state said no. In fact, they didn't just say no. They said, if you do this, we're going to prosecute you, your doctor, your hospital. We have counties saying you can't drive through the county if you're going to use the roads to access an abortion. I mean, how are they going to enforce that, Lawrence? What are we going to do? We start pulling women in Texas over and asking them, what's the nature of your travel, ma'am? I mean, that's not freedom. And I'm a fourth-generation Texan. And there's one thing I know about us, it's that we believe in freedom. And so for folks out there, they should know the only way in Texas we're going to restore this right is at the federal level by beating Ted Cruz. When I'm in the United States Senate, we will codify Roe v. Wade. We'll go back to the standard we had for the last 50 years.
Allred is advocating for rights that Republicans like Cruz have obsessively tried to eliminate for decades, that many times include pre-pregnancy crimes that really get their blood flowing. Once he moved on from policing sex toys, he tends to act like he gives a damn about murderers and rapists when it suits his fear-mongering anti-immigrant agenda that isn't backed up by very much preventative policy.
Let's specify it more narrowly. How many murderers have you released?
I'm not aware of any murderers whom...
How many rapists have you released?
I'm not aware of any rapists whom...
How many child molesters have you released?
I am not aware of any child molesters whom we have released into the United States.
I'm still looking for his outrage over the governor of his state dismissing the young victims of rape because they didn't want to carry their attackers' fetuses.
A new measure that would restore the exception to the Texas abortion law for victims of rape and incest. If that came to your desk, will you sign it or not?
Well, we got to go back, Chris, to what the reason was why the law was passed in the first place. And the goal is to protect the lives of every child with a heartbeat. And so we're working to achieve that goal. Chris, I got to point this out,
including
Chris,
the child of a rape.
This goal is consistent with what the United States Supreme Court has written, and that is states have the ability to make sure that we protect the health and safety of both the mother and the child, and that's what we are seeking to do here.
But are you saying that you will not sign an exception for rape and incest?
Well, first, I got to tell you, Chris, you're making a hypothetical that it's not going to happen because that bill is not going to reach my desk. But second, again, the goal is to protect the life of every child with a heartbeat.
Remember the bipartisan border bill that favored many things Republicans have been advocating for years? Cruz didn't want anything to do with it because it wasn't as politically advantageous as fear-mongering about the problem.
This border deal was misguided from the beginning. Why is that? Because this deal was drafted by the Democrats. It was negotiated with the Democrats.
So with Ted Cruz spiraling and in need of some sound legislative advice, since he and his boss sometimes get their cues from Fox News hosts, Greg Gutfeld might have a formula and analogy fit for GOP talking points that Ted can debut in the debate that they keep losing on abortion rights.
I think Republicans have to be blunt and say, hey, if you want your abortion, you can keep your abortion. Our moral argument exists, and we hope that one day you'll listen to it and take it seriously. So a pro-life shift would be from politics to persuasion, right? Because threats and bans only feed the beast. So you have to just say, hey, look, we won Roe v. Wade. Now let's focus on everything else, because abortion, whether you like it or not, and I'm pro-life, it's become an acceptable evil, just like war. You know, we hate war, but there it goes. And men wage the war, women wage the abortions. Call it even.